It's very simple and very standard way to handle the implementations. Just you put your use cases. So we defined all the entities or attributes that we need with geo functionalities, with the pictures, and then we set a standard persistent constructor that, like, this is the GemFire somehow need this information, the free construction with all attributes. That doesn't matter, or you can set a super constructor and that's all. And then the down level is the standard getter and setter. If you use the Loombook, you don't need to set the standard and getter and setter. Just you put it here, add annotate getter and annotate setter, or Loombook data, annotate data, and that's all. It works automatically. But this is the standard way. Getter and setter, since that simply just click it and then generate the getter and setter, and it works automatically. It's a refactor. You can source and then go to the getter and setter, select all the getter setter is there. So we don't need to just simply getter and setter, click the getter and setter, build the getter and setter, and that's all. Finish your model definitions. So put it your region name and your primary key, and then you have a super constructor for with all attribute and simple getter and setter. Everything is the same. And then service center information, it has its own tables, so all region information is a primary key, and addition information, service center type, status, and then type, and then remarks, and then this is it. That has a one-to-many address location. Maybe your service center maybe thousands centers, so one service center linked to the address location information. Maybe service center X has a service center type X1, it has 10 locations. The service center type health, service center type education, service center type research, and then you have so many too many located, one to many located. Maybe we have different use cases depending on you, but how it is linked, how is it mapped, is in simply there. So it's one service center has a one to many address locations. That's depend on the use cases and design pattern, the ORM, object relational mapping. I mean that one, the entity relational mapping. So, and here the consumer, so where this is exactly the same thing. Its consumer has all the information. It has the first name, last name, it has a middle name, its birth certificate, and the passport numbers, and it has email address, full names, and it has a father name, mother names, and then in the marital status, and then it has a pictures. You can also store the birth certificate into the backend server, social insurance number, passport numbers, and then the family size and the education level, and mother national ID and father national ID, all things. It's already, that's I said, it's really properly designed entity models. This is the defined by the requirement, the specification of your projects. It's depend on other projects you have maybe different, but then the approach that's we are thinking, you need to understand what's the use cases, how you design your projects, how your applications, how you design your implement APIs. That's the, I mean, it's that depending on the completely the requirement that's your end clients. So for you has we have just like this is our the voluntary works, the research works. We just play with you, and how the find one special use case, give it to you. How can you cover all part of your implementation? That's our intention, like that way. So one some consumer information is that one to many address locations, and then one consumer maybe different address location they are living, summer house, winter house, or maybe have the third official address, and then so on so forth. That's why it's one to many related information, the address location information. Exactly same thing, it has a constructor, and then with all attribute and the standard getter and setters. So that means we define our all attribute, our domain models in the domain packet, and that's all. It is works automatically. And then next step, as a step way, and we define our all the repository based on our domain model. That means we need at least if we try to expose our domain models as REST and APIs, or implementing our REST APIs or with these domain models, then you can just take these three, or if you need more, you can put it more, or if you only define only the one repository, then use the implement the one repository and implement this. For our case, we find out the possibilities, how can the repository need to be implemented, and how can you start the implementations. So You see the address location repository. This is the really default repository from Spring Boot. You see the repository REST resources, and we put it there, the class path, resource reference, and then path of the URL. That means this, if you annotate your repository, your address location repository, we extending the CRUD repository, and then annotating this way, then that means the Spring Boot itself expose your models, your domain models, the address location domain models with basic CRUD operation, create, update, delete operation, nothing to do. That means you don't need to implement your service and service implementation. You don't need to implement your REST controller. That's really standard, really exposing your REST APIs or endpoints with the Spring Boot standard way. But that's why I said this is the really one example how can you do, but you have a really less control with your endpoints. That's I mean, this is the constraint of this implementation. But we have example like this. Is, as I said, we are trying to share with you all the possibilities you can do very quickly and very efficiently. The possibility you can take over it depending on the which possibility you are trying to do. But this is one of the example like here, just you annotate your domain models, extending CRUD operations, and do the annotation, and that's all. You finish everything. That you don't need to write down your controller. You don't need to the service any service implementations, and that's all. It's finished. It's automatically expose your domain models as a basic CRUD operation and an additional information with that one. So service center information, this is exactly the same thing. We are exposing the service center information as a default repository exposure, endpoint definition, CRUD repository endpoints. You see the consumer information. This is one of the examples that I'm talking to with you. This is also default possibilities you can do, and this is our customized. This I said, this is our standard and professional way to do. So we have a repository, the CRUD repository, extending the CRUD repository. We have own repository class. So with this repository, we define it, our repository, with our domain models. That means we need to implement ourselves as a developer, as a professional way to do. You have a more control with that one. That I said. The other cases you have less control. This automatically expose your all the endpoints that you need. The CRUD operation, create, update, delete operations. In this case, you need to be yourself to implement your operations, and that means you have a really more control your implementations. All checks you can do and complex. That's I said, this is the professional way to do. Not the this is one not professional way. It is like to give into you the possibility. The Spring Boot give it to you possibility. You can deploy it and done it, and you can have dummy I can say as a default CRUD operation implementation, default endpoint definition. That's all. So we have like professional implementation, we extend the CRUD operations, and we have the repository, and then we defined our service interfaces. We have some own CRUD operations, save the get all the service consumer informations, get specific consumer informations, and save the specific post or save the specific service consumer information, update with the specific, we pass the specific ID, look for this ID, the service consumer is exist, and then update the respective information for the service consumer info, and then you can delete also the specific account. This is that means this is your own definition for your CRUD operations. Maybe you need more for some projection queries like statistical reporting, or some PDF file generation, Excel file generation, CSV file generation. Then you need to write down your own repository here, just simply query and parameters queries and so on and so forth. That's I said, I had a example all the things together with the screencast number, which is microservice implementation with PostGIS and MySQL. You can go there, look for that one, and can get the clear idea how can you write down the projection queries, like complex queries, native queries, and parameterized queries, and JPQL queries, or CQL or SQL, doesn't matter which type of query you are trying to write down. Just follow the previous one, you got the idea. But we are continuing. If you need it here, this case, we will continue further development. I will, when I have enough time, I will put it also here, some queries here, some JPQL queries